I was standing in the parking lot of Chen's coffee house at 11 p.m. on a Friday night in late September, staring at a text message that made my hands shake so violently I almost dropped my phone onto the wet pavement. The Portland rain was coming down in that persistent drizzle that soaks through everything, but I barely noticed. My entire body had gone numb except for my hands, which trembled like I was standing in freezing cold instead of just 50-degree autumn air. The message was from an unknown number, a 503 area code I didn't recognize, but the attachments told me everything I needed to know about the past 6 months of my life. 6 months that had felt like falling down an endless dark hole with no bottom, no handholds, nothing but the constant sensation of plummeting through darkness, while everyone I trusted told me it would be okay, told me to hang in there, told me things would get better. 6 photographs loaded on my screen one by one. 6 pieces of irrefutable evidence that proved my best friend of 14 years, a friendship that had survived high school drama, college stress, cross-country moves, terrible boyfriends, career struggles, family emergencies, everything that tests whether people actually care about each other, had systematically, deliberately, calculatedly destroyed my life while pretending to support me through the hardest, darkest, most devastating time I'd ever faced. My name is Maya Elena Rodriguez. I'm 29 years old, turning 30 in 3 months, which had seemed like a milestone I'd celebrate with career success and relationship stability and life going according to plan. 6 months ago, I was a senior graphic designer at Vertex Design Agency, one of Portland's hottest, most prestigious creative firms. I was dating Ethan Torres, a man I genuinely thought I'd marry, a man who talked about our future like it was guaranteed. I was living in a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in the Pearl District with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the river that made every bad day feel manageable. I had plans. I had stability. I had my best friend Rachel by my side through everything, or so I thought, so I believed with absolute certainty, so I would have sworn on anything that mattered. Now, 6 months later, I was unemployed and unemployable with ethical violations on my permanent employment record. Single after being dumped by the man I'd planned a future with, living in my parents' basement in Beaverton like a teenager who'd failed to launch, sleeping in my childhood bed under a ceiling I'd covered with glow-in-the-dark stars when I was 12. And I was staring at proof, undeniable, documented screenshot proof, that Rachel Chen, the girl I'd known since we were both 15-year-old high school freshmen, the girl who'd been my maid of honor at my almost wedding 3 years ago, when my fiancé called it off 2 months before the ceremony, the girl I'd called my sister in front of everyone we knew, had orchestrated my downfall with the precision of a military strategist planning an invasion. Let me back up. Rachel and I met freshman year of high school when we were both assigned to the same art class. She was the quiet girl from Taiwan who'd moved to Portland 6 months earlier and barely spoke English. I was the loud Latina girl who talked too much and had opinions about everything. We shouldn't have been friends, but somehow we were inseparable from day one. I taught her English slang, she taught me Mandarin, I defended her from bullies, she helped me with math homework. We went to prom together, double date with guys we barely liked. We both got into Rhode Island School of Design for college. We moved to New York together after graduation. We cried together through breakups and celebrated together through promotions. 14 years of friendship, 14 years of being there for each other through everything, 14 years of trust. Then 6 months ago, everything in my life started falling apart in ways I couldn't understand, in ways that felt random and cruel and inexplicable. It started with work. I was up for creative director at Vertex Design Agency. We'd both moved back to Portland from New York 2 years earlier, drawn by family and lower cost of living and the thriving Pacific Northwest creative scene. I'd been working toward that promotion obsessively for 3 years, staying late every night, taking on the hardest clients, mentoring junior designers, building my portfolio until it was absolutely undeniable. I had it completely locked down, or so I thought. My portfolio was objectively incredible, award-winning work, innovative campaigns, measurable client results. I'd personally landed the Morrison Hotel rebrand that won us 3 industry awards, including Best Hospitality Brand Identity from the American Design Council. I'd brought in 4 major clients worth over $2 million in annual revenue. Everyone in the office knew the promotion was mine. People were congratulating me in advance. Then suddenly, completely out of nowhere, on a Tuesday morning in March, I was called into HR. Just a casual message from Karen in Human Resources. Maya, can you come to conference room B at 10 a.m? We need to discuss something. No context, no warning, just that ominous message that made my stomach immediately drop because no good conversation in corporate history has ever started with, we need to discuss something. I walked into that conference room at exactly 10 a.m. Karen was there with Tom Brennan, the VP of Operations, which made my heart start racing because Tom never got involved in individual employee issues unless something was seriously wrong. Maya, thank you for coming, Karen said, her face carefully neutral in that trained HR way that reveals nothing. Please sit down. We need to discuss some very serious concerns that have been brought to our attention regarding your work. My stomach dropped through the floor. What concerns? I don't understand. Karen slid a printed email across the table. We've received multiple anonymous reports over the past 2 weeks claiming that you've been systematically taking credit for other people's work. Specifically, that several key designs in your Morrison Hotel portfolio, the designs that won us those industry awards, were actually created by junior designers on your team, and that you claimed them as your own original work in order to advance your career. I felt like I'd been physically punched in the chest, like someone had reached into my ribcage and squeezed my heart until I couldn't breathe. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. Those are my designs, every single one. I have all the original files, all the design iterations, all the client approval emails, everything with my name and my timestamps. We'll need to see comprehensive proof of that, Tom said, his voice formal and distant, until we can fully verify your claims and investigate these allegations. We're putting the creative director promotion on indefinite hold. We're also placing you on a performance improvement plan while we conduct our investigation. A performance improvement plan? I felt tears starting. I'm one of your top performers. I've brought in millions of dollars. Those designs are mine. Who would say this? Who would make these accusations? The complaints were anonymous, Karen said, but they included very specific details and what appeared to be supporting evidence. We have to take allegations of ethical violations seriously. You understand? I stumbled back to my desk in complete shock, feeling like the office was spinning around me. 23 people working at their computers, having normal Tuesday mornings while my entire world collapsed. Who would do this? Who would lie like this? Who hated me enough to fabricate these accusations? Rachel came over to my cubicle immediately. She must have seen my face. I probably looked like I was going to throw up or cry or both. Maya, what's wrong? You look absolutely devastated. What happened in there? I told her everything because she was my best friend, and I told her everything always, every promotion and every rejection, every success and every failure. She hugged me tightly. That's completely insane. Everyone in this office knows those are your designs. Everyone watched you work on them for 6 months straight. Don't worry, this will get cleared up quickly once they see your files. But it didn't get cleared up. The investigation dragged on for 2 weeks. Someone had sent anonymous emails to HR with detailed accusations. Someone had claimed to have original files that predated mine. It was a nightmare. Meanwhile, my boyfriend Ethan started acting strange. Ethan Tors and I had been together for 2 years. He was a software engineer at Intel, smart and funny and stable in a way that made me feel safe. We talked about getting engaged. I'd found the Pinterest board he'd made with engagement ring ideas. But suddenly he was working late 3 nights a week. He was taking phone calls in the other room. He was distant, distracted, pulling away from me in ways I couldn't explain. Are you okay? I asked him one night. You seem off. I'm fine, he said, not meeting my eyes. Just stressed about work. I believed him. I was so stressed about my own work situation that I didn't push harder. Rachel was there through all of it. She came over with wine when I was crying about HR. She listened to me vent about Ethan. She told me everything would be okay. You're the most talented designer I know, she said one night sitting on my couch. This is just a bump, you'll get through it. 3 weeks after the HR investigation started, I was fired. Fired for ethical violations and misrepresentation of work. They said the evidence against me was compelling and they couldn't keep me on staff. I was devastated. My career was over. No other agency would hire me with that on my record. I couldn't afford my apartment on unemployment. I had to move back in with my parents at 29 years old. Rachel cried with me the day I moved out. I'm so sorry, Maya, this is so unfair, but you're strong, you'll bounce back. 2 weeks after I moved into my parents' basement, Ethan broke up with me. "I can't do this anymore," he said. We were sitting in his car outside my parents' house because I was too embarrassed to invite him inside. "I need space. I need to figure things out." "Figure what out?" I asked, crying. "Ethan, I need you right now. I just lost my job, I lost my apartment, I can't lose you too." "I'm sorry," he said, and he looked genuinely sad. "I care about you, but this isn't working anymore." He drove away. I stood in my parents' driveway and sobbed. Rachel came over that night, brought ice cream and tissues and held me while I cried. "He's an idiot," she said. "You deserve so much better. You're going to get through this and find someone amazing and get an even better job and show everyone they were wrong about you." For 4 months I was in a depression so deep I barely left my parents' basement. I couldn't find work. No one would hire me with ethical violations in my employment history. I couldn't afford therapy. I couldn't see my friends because I was too ashamed. The only person who stayed in constant contact was Rachel. She texted me every day, sent me memes, called to check on me, came over once a week with coffee and encouragement. "You're my best friend," she said. "I'm not going anywhere." Then tonight, at 11 p.m., I got those text messages from an unknown number. The first message said, "You deserve to know the truth about Rachel." The attachments were screenshots and photos. My hands shook as I opened them. Screenshot 1, an email from Rachel to HR at Vertex sent 3 weeks before my meeting. The subject line, "Concerns about Maya Rodriguez's work ethics." The email detailed concerns that I was taking credit for junior designers' work. It included fake evidence, files that Rachel had somehow altered and backdated. Rachel had sent the anonymous complaint that got me fired. Screenshot 2, text messages between Rachel and Ethan starting 3 months before my firing. Flirty messages, "I miss you" messages, "Can't wait to see you again" messages, photos of them together at restaurants at his apartment in his car. Rachel had been sleeping with Ethan for months before he broke up with me. While she was coming over to comfort me about his distance, she was the reason for his distance. Screenshot 3, an email from Rachel to James Morrison, owner of Morrison Hotels, my biggest client, sent 1 week after I was fired. "Hi James, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I wanted to reach out regarding the hotel rebrand project. Maya Rodriguez is no longer with Vertex, and I'd love to discuss continuing that relationship with me as your point of contact. I was actually very involved in creating those original designs, and I'd be honored to present my portfolio to you." Rachel had stolen my client, claimed credit for my work, used my firing as an opportunity to take over my biggest success. Screenshot 4, a job posting, creative director position at Vertex Design Agency, posted 1 week after I was fired. Screenshot 5, a company announcement. "We're thrilled to announce Rachel Chen as Vertex's new creative director. Rachel has shown exceptional talent, leadership and integrity during her time here." Rachel got my job, the job I'd worked toward for 3 years, the job that was supposed to be mine. Screenshot 6, Maury text messages, these ones between Rachel and someone named Jennifer. The context made it clear Jennifer was her friend from college. "Jennifer, OMG, so you actually got the promotion." Rachel, "Yes, creative director, can you believe it?" Jennifer, "What about Maya?" Rachel, "What about her? She's out, I made sure of that." Jennifer, "Wait, what do you mean you made sure of that?" Rachel, "Let's just say I removed an obstacle. She was good but she wasn't that good. And Ethan is so much happier with me, everything worked out." Jennifer, "Rachel, that sounds kind of." Rachel, "Kind of smart, kind of necessary. She had everything handed to her. I had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. I just leveled the playing field." I read those messages 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. My best friend hadn't just betrayed me. She'd systematically destroyed my life, stolen my boyfriend, stolen my job, stolen my client, and felt justified in doing it. The unknown number sent one more message. "I'm Jennifer, I couldn't live with knowing this and not telling you. I'm sorry." I sat in my car in that parking lot for an hour, crying and shaking and cycling through every emotion possible. Rage, devastation, disbelief, Maury rage. I sat in my car in that parking lot for an hour, maybe longer, completely unable to move or think clearly, just cycling through every emotion possible. Rage so intense I was shaking, Devastation so deep I couldn't breathe properly. Disbelief that kept making me reread the messages because surely this couldn't be real, surely my best friend of 14 years hadn't done this, surely there was some explanation. Then more rage, sharper and hotter than before. Then gradually, slowly, as the rain continued falling and the parking lot emptied out and midnight approached, I started thinking clearly, started thinking strategically, started thinking like someone who'd just been handed the evidence she needed to burn her traitor's life to the ground. I saved every screenshot carefully, downloaded them to my phone, backed them up to 3 different cloud services, Google Drive, Dropbox and iCloud, because I wasn't taking any chances of losing this evidence. Then I started researching employment lawyers, wrongful termination cases, fraud statutes, everything I needed to understand what Rachel had done and how to make her pay for it. The next morning, Saturday, after a sleepless night where I alternated between crying and planning, I called James Morrison, owner of Morrison Hotels. The client whose hotel rebrand had been my masterpiece, the project I'd poured 6 months of my life into, the work that should have guaranteed my promotion. Mr. Morrison, this is Maya Rodriguez. I apologize for reaching out directly on a weekend, but I have something extremely important and time-sensitive to discuss with you regarding the Morrison Hotel rebrand and my former colleague Rachel Chen. His voice was guarded. Maya, I heard about what happened at Vertex. Rachel's been managing our account since you left. That's actually what I need to discuss. Can we meet today if possible? I have evidence of fraud that directly affects your business relationship with Vertex. We met at a Starbucks in downtown Portland that afternoon. I brought my laptop with every original file from the hotel rebrand, files with my name in the metadata, my timestamps showing 6 months of work, my design process documented in dozens of iterations and client feedback loops. Then I showed him Rachel's email, sent 1 week after I was fired, claiming she'd been very involved in creating the designs and offering to continue managing his account personally. Mr. Morrison, Rachel wasn't involved in creating these designs at all, not even remotely. She wasn't even working at Vertex when I started this project. She was hired 4 months into the process. She literally had 0 creative input. This email is fraud. She's claiming credit for work she knows I created. James Morrison's face went from confused to angry to absolutely furious in about 30 seconds. This is completely unacceptable. She represented herself as the creative force behind work you did. That's not just fraud, that's... He stopped, clearly too angry to finish. Yes, sir, and I think you should know that I was fired from Vertex based on fabricated allegations that I was stealing other people's work. Allegations that I now have proof Rachel herself sent to HR. She destroyed my career to take my job and my clients. His jaw tightened. I'm calling Vertex's CEO immediately. This is not how we do business. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Maya. Next, I contacted Sarah Chen, no relation to Rachel, an employment lawyer who specialized in wrongful termination cases. I'd found her through 3 hours of research and reading reviews from other designers who'd been screwed over by agencies. We met Monday morning. I laid out everything, the timeline, the fake HR complaint, the documented evidence that Rachel had fabricated allegations to get me fired so she could take my promotion and my clients, the text messages showing premeditation, the email to James Morrison showing fraud. Sarah listened carefully, taking notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When I finished, she sat back and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Maya, this is one of the most clear-cut cases of wrongful termination and workplace fraud I've seen in 15 years of practice. You have documentation of everything. The timeline proves premeditation. The text messages are damning. And the fact that she immediately took your job and your clients after getting you fired, that establishes clear motive and demonstrates damages. You have an extremely strong case. What should I do? We file a lawsuit against Vertex Design Agency for wrongful termination, defamation, and emotional distress. We name Rachel Chen as a co-defendant for fraud, defamation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We go after both of them hard, and based on this evidence, I think we can win big. I filed the lawsuit the following week, the lawsuit that would take everything Rachel had stolen from me and burn it all to ashes. The discovery process was brutal for Rachel in ways that felt grimly satisfying. Forensic analysis of the digital files she'd submitted to HR as evidence proved conclusively that she'd created them, that she'd altered my original files, changed the metadata, backdated them, and fabricated an entire false chain of evidence to frame me. Email records subpoenaed from Vertex showed every anonymous complaint she'd sent to HR over a 3-week period, each one more detailed and damaging than the last. Text message records showed her relationship with Ethan started 2 full months before she filed the first complaint, proving this wasn't a crime of passion or opportunity, but a calculated, premeditated plan to systematically destroy my life so she could take everything I had. James Morrison terminated Vertex's entire contract with the agency within 48 hours of learning about Rachel's fraud. He demanded a full refund for the rebrand project, close to $300, and made it clear he'd be telling everyone in the hospitality industry about what had happened. Vertex's reputation took a massive public hit. Industry blogs covered the story. Design forums discussed it. Everyone in Portland's creative community knew what Rachel had done. Vertex fired Rachel within 2 weeks of my lawsuit being filed, not because they cared about ethics or integrity, but because keeping her was a legal and public relations nightmare they couldn't afford. Then Ethan broke up with Rachel, apparently learning that your girlfriend destroyed your ex's life as part of a calculated plan to steal both her boyfriend and her job was too much for him. Who knew? Rachel lost everything in 3 weeks. The job, the boyfriend, her reputation in the Portland design community. People started avoiding her. Other agencies wouldn't touch her. Clients refused to work with her. My lawsuit settled 4 months after I filed. Vertex paid me $180,000 in damages and cleared my employment record completely. They issued a public statement that the allegations against me had been fabricated and that I was a designer of exceptional talent and integrity. Rachel didn't have money for a lawyer. She tried to settle directly, sent me emails begging me to drop the charges against her personally. Maya, please, I'm so sorry, I made terrible mistakes. I was jealous and angry and I handled it in the worst possible way. Please don't destroy my life over this. I didn't respond. The judgment against Rachel was $75,000 for fraud and emotional distress. She'd have to pay it in installments for years. It would ruin her credit, follow her forever. I felt vindicated, I felt justified, I felt like justice had been served. But I didn't feel better. 6 months after the judgment, I was working at Cascade Creative, a better firm with more prestigious clients, making $95,000 a year. I had a new apartment in the Pearl District, new friends, and I was dating Marcus, a history teacher who was kind and honest and stable. Everything looked perfect. But I couldn't sleep. I kept having nightmares about Rachel, about 14 years of friendship corrupted by 6 months of betrayal. I was angrier than I'd ever been, consumed by it, defined by it. Marcus noticed. Maya, you're grinding your teeth in your sleep. You wake up at 3 a.m. and pace. What's going on? I'm fine, I lied. But I wasn't. The victory felt hollow. The justice felt empty. Then one night I saw Rachel. I was getting coffee at a small shop in northeast Portland. She was sitting alone in the corner looking exhausted and defeated. She'd lost weight, had dark circles under her eyes, looked like she hadn't slept in months. She saw me, went pale, started to leave. Rachel, wait, I heard myself say. She stopped, turned. Maya, I'm so sorry, I know you don't want to talk to me, I'll go. Sit down, I said. We sat across from each other in that coffee shop, the first time we'd been face to face in almost a year. Why, I asked, that's all I want to know, why? She started crying. Because I was jealous, because everything came so easily to you and I had to fight for everything, because clients loved you and barely noticed me, because you had Ethan and I was alone, because I wanted what you had and I convinced myself I deserved it more. So you decided to destroy me. I told myself I was just leveling things, that you'd be fine, that you'd land on your feet. I didn't think about what it would actually do to you. I just wanted what you had. Did you ever actually care about me? Were we ever really friends? She looked at me with devastated eyes. Yes, that's what makes it so much worse. You were my best friend, my only real friend, and I destroyed that because I was selfish and bitter and jealous. We sat in silence. I don't expect you to forgive me, Rachel said quietly. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that losing you was worse than losing anything else, worse than the job or Ethan or my reputation. I lost my best friend and it was entirely my fault. I looked at her, really looked at her. She'd lost everything too, and unlike me, she didn't get to feel righteous about it. She had to live with knowing she'd destroyed the most important relationship in her life for things that didn't matter. I forgive you, I heard myself say. Rachel looked up shocked. What? I forgive you, not because you deserve it, not because what you did was okay, but because I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of letting what you did define my life. I'm tired of the bitterness. She was crying. Maya, I forgive you, but we're not friends again. We can't be. You broke something that can't be fixed, but I forgive you because I need to move on, and you need to move on too. Thank you, she whispered. We sat there for a few more minutes, then I stood up. I hope you figure out who you want to be, I said. The Rachel who was my best friend for 14 years or the Rachel who destroyed her best friend's life out of jealousy. You get to choose. I walked out of that coffee shop and felt something shift inside me. The anger that had been eating me alive for a year started to dissolve, not completely, not immediately, but enough that I could breathe differently. Forgiveness wasn't about Rachel deserving it, it was about me deserving peace. 3 years later, I'm doing better than I ever imagined. I'm a creative director at a top agency. I'm engaged to someone who loves me honestly. I have real friends who support me without hidden agendas. I still think about Rachel sometimes, wonder how she's doing, hope she learned something from losing everything. I heard through mutual friends that she moved to Seattle, started over, works at a small agency doing good work quietly, dating someone new, slowly rebuilding her reputation. I'm glad, not because I think we'll ever be friends again, we won't, but because forgiveness means wanting the person who hurt you to become better, not wanting them to suffer forever. The moment I forgave Rachel wasn't the moment she apologized. It wasn't the moment she lost everything. It wasn't even the moment justice was served. It was the moment I decided I deserved peace more than I deserved revenge. And that made all the difference.